The Senate, through its Committee on Finance, has threatened not to consider or pass the 2026 budget proposal for the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation following a series of complaints of poor capital releases for the 2025 budget. The Senate committee, led by its chairman, Sani Usman, issued the threat on Thursday, refusing to even touch the budget, as the Accountant General, Shamsuddin Ogunjimi, appeared before the panel to defend his office's budget for the 2026 fiscal year. Arise correspondent Omo Bazwaye tells us more.
How do we now account to Nigerians that the entire 2025, with all the revenue generated, we have not spent a dime? Why is the money? Why has it gone?
Where is the money? That's the question put by Senator Aminu Abbas to the man in charge of Nigeria's Treasury, the Accountant General of the Federation, Shamsuddin Ogunjimi, who is appearing before senators to defend his 2026 budget proposal. From fuel subsidy removal savings to revenues from government-owned enterprises that have repeatedly claimed to have surpassed the revenue targets, the lawmakers want to know why the federal government is unable to settle over 2.2 trillion naira owned contractors. The Senate Committee on Finance is now refusing to even lay a finger on the 2026 budget proposal for the Office of the Accountant General, following a series of complaints of poor 2025 and 2024 budget releases.
How do we now account to Nigerians that the entire 2025, with all the revenue generated, we have not spent a dime? Why is the money? Why has it gone? If it's the books, how can we bring out the balance sheet of the federal government? How can we bring out the statement, cash statement, or whatever of the federal government, the cash flow? We want to know, as an accountant general.
Members of this chamber are not unaware where these monies are channeled. We do. We have the records. We have evidences.
Line items listed on statutory transfer, security agencies, and even INEC are caught in the lamentation over poor funding.
I have never seen a situation so terrible as we face today. We just finished budget defense with most of the security agencies, and it's so disheartening to know that all of them, what they presented clearly shows that there hasn't been any releases.
The Senate committee queried the envelope method of disbursement by the Treasury House, asking the Accountant General to switch to performance-based system. In his defense, the Accountant General appealed to the Senate committee to review his decision not to consider the budget for his office, explaining that he can only disburse funds that are released to him, especially without the luxury of ways and means.
I must have the fund before I can disburse. That is one. Two, I have issues around the policy, which is the revised bottom cash policy. Even though I've been a treasury officer, and I believe every member of this committee is also a treasury officer by being a member of the committee, because you are oversighting my office.
He also accused ministries, departments, and agencies of government of not remitting revenues and taxes, with many of them giving contracts that are not cash-backed. The committee subsequently called for an executive session where it hopes to iron out all of its queries with the Accountant General.
So, a couple of things. I think we've always complained that the budget is a shambles. And this budget cannot deliver any good for any Nigerian out there. And it has shown. A budget that you don't even come out to fund. With this level of paucity of funds, the budget performance should be less than 50%. I'll even be surprised if we get 20% budget performance, because let me excite you. If Ali Pate is saying over 200 billion was earmarked and he gets 36 million naira, what will you call that budget performance? It's even less than 0.0001%. So, but at the same time, we're throwing the baby away with the bathwater. 500 million naira was released to the SC, to the President of Media and Comms, for strategic global media engagement. But we can't give health. We only give health 36 million. So even with the paucity of funds, the money they are not releasing, the so-called money, and that's why I say these guys are running a casino economy. There's nothing you're going to tell me. The empirical facts are so there. This is the same government that say, we've met our revenue targets. We've met our revenue targets. Non-oil. Non-oil. Where's the money? If you meet the revenue, it's not to spend the money on the people. At the same time, over 150 million was paid to an airline company for travels. But for health, capital project, just 36 million. Then it goes way further with the shenanigans that happen. Let me excite you a bit. Only 60 million was released from the 858 billion budgeted to bridge electricity tariff gap by MBET. They said they were going to give a bond to the electricity companies. Then the price was 4 trillion. Now it's gone up over 6 trillion. They are still wriggling around the bond today. So government is not meeting most of its encumbrances, and it claims it has a budget. That's why they are packing most of the budget lines into a new year. Even Mr. Omayi that thinks I don't see anything good in him, I'm speaking up for him this morning. I hope he's listening. His budget is about 3.4 trillion. It's just over 700 billion that they've been able to give him to do his work. How do you expect people to work? Anyway, that's never going to stop me from asking accountability questions from him. So I'm here to do my job. He should do his. And make the press conference less about Rufia. Please, it's not me. Make it about your ministry. So when you look at it, there's a lot of rigmarole that is going on. There's a lot of rigmarole. And that's why we are not getting anything done. And that's why we can truly ask this administration, what have you done for Nigerians in the last 4 years? If you cannot meet most of your budget cycle, but it's still in the same country, you can't meet most of it, you shelled out over $150 million to buy a plane for yourself. So what are we talking about? INEC. It would be a miracle if INEC even gets over that 700 billion. Yes, they want to use over 200 billion for technology. Electoral, operations, over, billion, over 300 billion. But in the end, God knows how much will be released. Maybe it's after next year, we will now know, when we do an inquiry like this, we'll see that the budget performance was paltry. I thought the president said we did very well in budget performance because he always says that every year. But what we see is different from what he says. When he goes to present the budget, the budget, we cash backed it, we did well. They should give us empirical figures of budget performance. If I say that now, so it's a miss. So see, our budgeting system is flawed. Even the ones we do, when we finally release the money, we don't get anything done. And that's why you can see the frustration of Zen. So, like the senators are asking today, I would like to also ask them, please, where is all the so-called revenue this government said they made? On top of that, we are going to be borrowing again. We are borrowing trillions. 17 trillion there about to meet the 20 trillion deficit in the budget. The one we borrowed last year, did we release that money to the ministries to work?
Okay.
So these are the questions we are asking.
Many questions.
Many accountability questions. And it is incumbent on them to answer it. And enough of all this envelope system, this system, that system. No. Let's get things done.
All right.
We have all these contractors, we have these agencies. We say we have made 28 trillion naira in terms of revenue. And yet capital votes are not cash backed. The Ministry of Health gets in 2025 just about 36 million out of about over 300 billion. Primary agriculture in the Ministry of Agriculture is not funded. And yet we say, oh, we are making money. So where is the money going? The Accountant General, Dr. Ogunjimi, faced the panel, Senate Committee on Finance, and says, well, we can assure you that there is no ways and means. But all of these issues, it's only when we have money that we can cash back the MDAs. At the same time, the central bank governor is saying we have 50 billion, I think, in reserve, 46 point something, close to $50 billion. Why are we keeping money in foreign reserve and we cannot cash back and ensure performance? So the issue then, therefore, will be the envelope system that we have adopted since 2024. the envelope budgeting system that Nigeria has. Okay, even before 2024, I think under the Buhari government, we had the envelope system. So what is available is what is available, or what the people disbursing the funds say. No, we should have a performance-based budgeting system. And that is the main concern here. You know, how do you say, you know, you are now going to borrow trillions of naira? The other issues, they said they are going to sell assets. Mr. Wale Edun, the coordinating minister, had assured us before now that, you know, borrowing is not the target. When he went to Davos, he said something about domestic borrowing, which the experts, economic analysts, have said is going to crowd out the private sector in terms of access to funds for economic growth. So there are many contradictions. I'm not an economist, but the people who are in that field, who are economists, have been questioning all of these details, and they've been saying, look, what is going on looks like voodoo economists on the part of the experts that are right there. Contractors are not paid. You say there is no money. You say we have 21 trillion revenue, and then you say we have 50 billion in foreign reserve. Is the foreign reserve more important than performance within the economy? These are the critical questions.